Welcome to the Mission Go podcast, where we sit down with leaders in our communities and businesses to talk about what inspires them to go build something bigger than themselves. We want you to be inspired and you to take on your own personal mission also. Let's go, baby. Raul Serpas, what's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
I hope I clipped the mic on that volume there.
It's a good introduction.
Yes. I just want to get the opportunity to let all of my friends and family, the two people who watch this, know a little bit more about you, what you're doing, and what God has for your life, man. So spill the beans. What's going on?
How much time do we have?
We got like 47 hours.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Let's start with your family.
Thank you.
Beautiful family.
Yes.
Tell us about them.
Talk about my family. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I can just talk about them. They're awesome. I have a wife named Amanda, who's incredible.
Okay.
And I have two boys, Emilio and Ari, who are also incredible. And they're a lot of fun, and they keep me on my toes, and they keep me alive, and they keep me, they just keep me inspired and challenged and excited to be able to do life together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Amanda. She's your backbone, your support.
Yes.
But you are working on launching a new venture. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. How did God give you this vision? What's the plan, and what do you think the short term and long term future looks like for Larkhaus?
Man, you're asking these questions that I could just go on and on about. So I'm a filmmaker. I've been working as a freelancer since 2016. And over the course of my time working as a freelancer, I've had the privilege of working on a variety of different projects, from commercials to documentaries to short films to music videos, like kind of the whole gamut. And one of the things that, especially after COVID, started really, something kind of sparked in me was having conversations with my friends and realizing not only how difficult it is to be a freelancer, to be kind of on your own, but often for creatives, it just is really lonely. I mean, it's similar in business. Yeah. Sometimes you feel like you're just out on your own and you don't really have support, or you don't have people around you who you can just go to and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. In the film industry specifically, the last 4 years have been kind of a full disaster. Like, we went from COVID to, there was a surge in work and everyone thought, great, we're back, the film industry's back. And then you had the strikes that happened and industry stopped, and then work sort of started coming back, and then you had more kind of strikes, and then you had this whole like looming threat of AI and what's going to happen. And there's so much talk about, who's getting replaced, and there's just a lot of pressure on creatives and, again, filmmakers to kind of like have to figure this out. And I've had a lot of friends who have had to face the realities of like, hey, I moved to a big city, I moved to maybe LA or New York to pursue this, but there's no work, so maybe I have to go back home. And that's really tough, and I've had conversations again with many of my friends about this, and sort of in that realization of seeing where the industry is and where people are kind of the sort of consensus of moving forward, I became really passionate about this concept and this idea of creating a better community for filmmakers and creatives, a place where we can talk about the good things, because again, like in business, the highs are really high and the lows are really low.
Yeah.
And sharing those experiences, like, man, I just nailed the biggest contract of my life, and that feels amazing. And you feel like it's, or I just, haven't worked in 6 months. And like kind of have those conversations, because if you go on YouTube, for example, there are a million tutorials on how to use cameras, how to do this thing and how to, be a content creator, but there's very little information on how to actually survive this, like as a person, how to navigate finances, how to navigate, putting some money away because there might not be work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so
from what I understand, creatives are challenged in some of those categories,
yes,
as far as like finances and putting money away, yes, and stowing away for the future because of the way that they see the world, right? It's like, this is your moment, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's very common for creatives to be creative, and to know how to do that, and to know how to make things, and artists in general, to not be very well versed in finances or in administrative things. So you find people who countless people I know who, I just had a good run, I just made some money, and the first instinct is, I should go buy another camera because I just have a little bit of money, and then you realize 3 months later, I don't have work for that camera.
I've shot nothing with that camera.
And now I don't have that money. And that's just like a story that repeats on and on. But there has been a lack of mentorship from people who've either been there before, have experienced those, have had those experiences, and can go, hey, like actually, the ROI on purchasing a camera may not be there for a while. The clients that you're working with at the time might not appreciate none of the difference between a $15,000 and a $1,200 camera.
As a client to some creatives, I can tell you, I don't see the difference, and that's because I am not gifted like that, right? Because I don't see the difference. And so if someone was coming to me and they were saying like, okay, I'm going to shoot this with this camera, and if we use this camera, the price is X, right? But if we upgrade and we do this camera, you'll get so many more pixels or whatever. Yeah, and I'm like,
it looks the same to me.
It's the same to me. Let's go with the lower. Like, I'm watching it on my phone, so what does it matter, right? Like, so just go with the cheaper one. So I understand that, but the creative is always going to want to improve the craft, right? Because it's about what they've done, the product that they've made, right? Well, have I made something that I'm proud of, right? And the tools, the artist's tools are the camera and things like that, and so they naturally want to put that money into that, but the artist can sometimes be restricted by the audience.
Yeah, and it's a blessing and a curse, but something that comes with sort of the artist calling, if we want to call it that, is that your work often is extremely tied up with your identity. There's no separation between who you are and what you make. It's all one and the same. If you work a 9-to-5 job and you get the clock out, you might be like, I'm out, I'm done. I don't care what happens after I clock out. When you're an artist, you care about things that other people don't typically care about. And it affects you at a level that is very deep and personal, that often, you might have an amazing spouse like I do, and you might try to have a conversation. She might be like, that's just a video. And you're like, but it's my thing. I'm an artist. I made it.
Did you see the angle?
Yeah. I worked so hard on that, and the lighting and this and that. And so for us to basically, we decided that we wanted to create a home for creatives, for filmmakers, where we can both connect with each other, with people at different levels in the industry, from peers to people that we look up to who shoot at the highest levels in Hollywood and different, and to be able to connect, again, to create real connections where we can go, hey, you are shooting the biggest things out there, but at the core, you're still a dad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, challenges of being a dad in an industry that is so demanding.
I can imagine the demands of an industry like that, especially if you're operating at a really high level, or you are aspiring to get to a really high level. There's certain sacrifices that you have to make a judgment call on, as far as family time value, or go away for 6 months and shoot this film in Norway or whatever, right? How does having a community would be extremely valuable in getting perspectives from people who've been there, done that, and coaching on how to. I don't mean to say have your cake and eat it too, but navigate the differences there, so that you're not sacrificing what's, at the end of the day, it's our family and our connection to our personal communities around us. That's really truly important. Yeah. But the ability to create craft and to provide a income for your family is also very important as well. Yeah. So to not sacrifice the most important for the very important. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So just having mentorship in that can, like, I know for me, obviously I'm not a creative, but I think
you are. Look at this place. It's pretty creative. I know you're going to say it's not you.
It's not. It's my wife, dude. What are you talking about? I also have an awesome wife.
I've seen you drop some bars.
Okay. Yeah. All right. But, even in business, right, on my scale, like local economy type business stuff, there are decisions that I have made that have not been good. That had I had a wise counsel around me of leaders in my industry, it could have helped me, avoid some really harsh bumps in the road. Yeah. So I think that what you're doing is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and it's in life, anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So if I say yes to a job, I'm saying no to time with my family. And I had a moment a couple of years ago. I was working, maybe 2 years ago. I was working on some paperwork I had to fill out, and it was asking me to kind of say how many times I had traveled over the last 5 years. It was like a citizenship related thing. And I went back on my calendar and I started adding up over the prior 5 years how many times I had been out of the country.
Not just travel.
Not just travel, only out of the country.
Out of the U.S.
So I do that, and it was like 3 a.m. when I'm by myself at home. I'm just working on this thing, and I realized that only international travel, I had been gone almost 3 months over the last 5 years. So that was 3 months that I hadn't been with my kids, 3 months of growth of my babies that I didn't experience. And I feel like I'm going to tear up now because I broke down that night. Yeah. Because then I was like, I can't even imagine if I added up national within the U.S. travel. It's probably been 8 months, maybe even a year that I've not been home because I've had to say yes on a whim. You get a phone call, today's Friday, and I get a text, are you available tomorrow to jump on a plane? I'm gone. And I have to tell Amanda, hey, I got to go. And like you said, sometimes not having people around you who can tell you, hey, like, if you're going to say if you're going to say yes to a job, then how do you bring other balance into your life? Yeah. How do you make up for that time? How do you become a more present person so that when you are there, you're not, and this is something that I'm guilty of doing, especially in the past, where I'm kind of cold, so I'm like shaking a little bit.
As a creative, I think you can understand. Like, we turned the HVAC off, so there's no sound, so the heat is dissipating out of this 1,800-year-old building, and we have no insulation. Yes, it's us and the world.
It's you who make me tremble. No, but something I would do, and I regret, is I would be so preoccupied by when's the next gig coming that when I got home from a trip, I would be back on my phone, when's that email going to come? When's that text going to come? When's somebody going to tell me that there's more work available? So I wasn't present with my kids. And it took conversations with friends. It took learning that, okay, if I'm going to say yes to a job, I'm going to say also yes to being more present with my family. And that's just one example of, 1,000 things that you have to navigate if you pursue doing better work. How do you reach out to new clients? Like, how do you get out of, maybe you've been sort of stagnant for the last 2 years and you want to break through another level. Like, how do you do that? Like, do I just cold email people? Like, do I just post on Instagram
Have
more?
camera will travel.
And then you talk to people who have been there and done that, and they start telling you, and then you start recognizing certain patterns. Oh, maybe I should try this. Maybe, but that's information just doesn't really exist, isn't really widely available. So our goal has been, how do we provide, again, the connection, the relationship, the community, but also then the resources where people feel like, okay, by me being around this group of people, both online, because, we live online,
yeah.
and also physically through events, through get-togethers, through dinners, through hangouts, I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow my skills. I'm going to grow what I'm capable of doing, but also I'm going to grow in my mindset of I can bump to a higher level, because we all want to do bigger, greater, cooler things.
Yeah.
But it's hard, again, to do it on your own, So,
like the Kanye song, higher, bigger, better, faster, stronger, right? Like we all want to
be Kanye. Well, maybe not. Well, I've talked to people in many different countries who are like, Hollywood is sort of the pillar of the industry as a whole, but then it does feel very gatekeepy.
Yeah.
It feels very kind of closed off. But then you meet the people who are inside of it and they go, oh, we want to contribute. We want to like help people. So then we're like, okay, then let's do stuff. Let's jump on a Zoom call and open it to whoever at whatever level and give them the ability to feel like we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're ultimately all trying to create work that matters. Create work that has some level of significance, to be able to go home and tell my kids, I did something important. Once
you taste significance, you'll never settle for success again, right? So in what you're building, it will make a significant impact in the lives of the members of the community that is involved in it. Not just from a down-up perspective, but from an up-down perspective, because you have individuals who have been there, done that, right? And now this is their opportunity to pass that wisdom and that knowledge along, right? To be helpful to the others around them in the community, and to give back, right? They're looking for a way to give back, for an avenue to give back, right? But unless someone comes up to them at an event and say, hey, I really liked your work in XYZ, here's my number, can I talk to you sometime? Like, that's intimidating for both parties.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Who's the rando trying to call me,
Right, like, okay, like, is there a van out back that you're, like, what are you doing, weirdo, right? But in a safe environment that you're creating, it's huge, and it's really going to help people. Speaking of helping people, I know that, we talked about your amazing wife, Amanda. I know that she's your helper. She's your rib, right?
Yeah.
Like she is perfectly designed for you by God. What is the best thing that in this journey that she has done to help support you and grow and launch? Put a pause on that.
There is the just simple fact that she literally keeps me alive.
Keeps you alive?
Yeah. She tells me what medicine to take and when to take it and what doctor's appointment. So there's like that. Otherwise I wouldn't. But there is just so much. I don't know. There's so much. People talk about, like, is the concept of soulmates real or not? And whether that's true or not, I think there is something to say about finding the person who is willing to go to the darkest of darks with you, and sometimes pull you up and tell you you will not be there, or sometimes tell you, you know what, let's just sit here together. And it sucks for both of us, but we're gonna hang in there, and we'll get up. And I think, like Amanda and I have been through a lot together. We've joked that we've been through in our lifetimes combined more than a lot of people go, in many, many years. So we've suffered a lot. We've also had incredible times together. So there's a bond that is just unexplainable. And there's a trust that whether I know she's mad at me, I know that she cares for me deeply, and she will do anything that is within her humanity to pull the best out of me and help me. You said the word helpmate. And that is, like Amanda is to a fault selfless in every way, where she just wants to take care of people. And I go in that group, thankfully.
You are a person.
I am. Most days I feel like it. And being able to really go through life together, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, the fun, it's just, some days I realize that I'm like, man, I don't know what I did. Like, God must like me a lot. He must think I'm pretty cool to have given me a person like that to be my partner.
Yeah.
I feel pretty special.
He likes you, all right.
I think so.
He told me personally. He was like,
Good.
That dude right there, he's special.
Good.
And I got someone even more special for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he sent me an email.
Oh.
Yeah, it's god@god.com.
Who owns that domain?
I don't know.
We gotta look it up. Who owns that domain? Yeah.
Oh man. So what's as a family? What are some of what is your favorite thing that you like to do as a family with your boys? Like, do you go on any trips? Are you guys skiers or fishers, or like what do you guys like to do?
We vacation very differently.
Okay.
Amanda is veg out is she says her word. She likes to chill and do nothing.
Okay.
I like to, if we're going somewhere, I'm like, I want to see, do, eat, and like I want to experience the places.
Okay.
So we've learned to balance each other out, where if we're traveling together, I will be like, hey, I already have a whole itinerary planned out. Out of all these possibilities that we could do, because earlier in our marriage, I would be like, we need to do all these things. And if we didn't, I would be upset, because I would feel like
your expectation wasn't met.
Yeah. And then she would feel like, oh, we just did all this and we never relaxed. And I'm like, but this is relaxing. So figured it out eventually that I would be like, okay, out of all these things, what sounds fun to you? So we've taken a few trips with the boys, and it's been really fun to just kind of see things through their eyes as well.
Yeah.
I think one of the beautiful things about parenthood is that you sort of get to relive through the eyes of your kids.
Yeah.
And you kind of experience places. My boys are little, so everything is exciting and new and cool, and they get, they see a cool car that they've heard about, and they're like, oh my God. I mean, they do that even here in Fredericksburg. It's like, we saw 4 Porsches today. And
yes, I love them.
They get so excited. They know it's like, a car that I want eventually. So that's really fun. Like we love traveling with them. Also, we love traveling without them because then
Trust me, I know.
You get to stay up late and do other stuff.
What kind of other stuff you talking? No, I'm just kidding.
Go to restaurants where children are not allowed.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just fun. We do enjoy traveling together, taking the boys when we can, and if not, just being like just you and I. We need something. We need a little getaway and a little date night.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
All right. Well, pulling it back to yourself as an entrepreneur, right? What is one of the toughest struggles, and then also what's one of your best successes that you've seen? Like what's the biggest struggle you have as an entrepreneur, and then what's one of the highest peaks that you think you've experienced professionally?
Yeah.
We'll start low and finish high on that.
Yeah. I think something I'm trying to learn is, and back to the point I made earlier about being present, is that when you're in the grind, it's really hard to see things in the moment, and it might be something incredible, but I tend to move on to the next thing because the next thing is on my mind, and I don't do a great job at celebrating small wins.
Okay.
And I think that's really important, is to celebrate small wins, to maybe mourn small losses, but to acknowledge, like, here's what happened maybe today. I had an amazing conversation, with my friend, and he threw me on his podcast.
What?
My friend Nick.
He hustled you.
Great, and like appreciate those small moments, or something cool happened today. Because those are the moments that eventually make up a season, and then you can be grateful. Oh, that was actually, like, I thought it was a bad season, but actually all these other really cool things happened in that season. Because busyness, and, I'm a self-acknowledged, workaholic. I enjoy working. So I can tend to move to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And it's something I'm trying to get better at, to go like, oh man, like cool things are happening. Even if in the scheme of things, I feel like progress is slow, or we're not doing what I thought we were going to do by X date or X accomplishment. But to look at it and go, okay, there's actually been really important things that have happened, maybe really good conversations. Maybe there's been people that I've been able to have a conversation with and connect in a deep level. It's something that I've also really become appreciative of. It's just getting to know people in a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that's something that has been a little bit of a byproduct of what I'm building that I didn't expect, but it's been incredible, because then I've gotten to know people and to, talk about life in a more meaningful way than just transactionally.
Have you ever had an experience way to answer my question without answering my question, as far as highs and lows? You like basically blend them all together, but I appreciate that. But have you ever been in a situation where you're maybe having one of those intimate conversations with somebody, and all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like, whatever we were supposed to talk about, like, that's not why God has us talking right now. And you notice in that moment, like, God has something different for us to engage on. Have you ever had an experience like that? And if so, what's that like?
Yeah, I've had a lot of those. I think because I worked in ministry for a long time, and one of the downsides of working in ministry is that majority of your conversations are in the context of ministry. So you're trying to get, whether things are, whatever that is, you're trying to work in ministry. So you're like, your circle is ministry, and the people that are around you are ministry people. So you kind of continue to do that, and that's great. One of the surprising things about working in the secular world is that there are moments when I'm talking to people who have no idea. I mean, I used to become very surprised at how many people have no idea about Jesus. Like, didn't grow up in church, didn't have church in their family, don't know. It's very foreign to them.
Yeah.
The concept of Jesus and church, they're kind of like, I never experienced it. I used to think like everybody knows church.
That was your circle.
Because that was my circle.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to have conversations and people begin opening up about their lives and their struggles and their hurts and their pain and their, the beauty of life and all those things. And you hear them and you can go like, in my mind, I'm thinking of a specific conversation with a friend where I was having like chills all over me. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is literally the Holy Spirit working in your life and you have no clue. And it's amazing because I go, it just shows me how much God loves that person, and they don't even know. Like, they literally do not know.
You've seen it. You know it. You've experienced it.
Yeah.
You know you've had the Holy Spirit work in you.
Yeah.
And you've recognized it because of your knowledge of God, right? And the Holy Spirit's working on them.
Yeah.
And to them, it just feels like everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
And you're like, and in your mind, you're sitting there, you're like, well, it has to. Mm-hmm. That's the process.
Yeah. And my friend, I was talking to her and she was telling me this story about all this stuff that had happened. And she took this trip to just like kind of get out of everything. And these like sequence of events happened. And she looked in the distance, and I'm trying not to give detail, but
yeah, don't give
she was like, she saw this thing, and that, like, she was like, it all made sense. And she was like, I knew, I forget her exact words, but it was along the lines of, I knew that the universe cared about me. Because, like, and I was just like,
almost.
But in my mind, I'm just like, oh, you're like,
Holy Spirit,
it's beautiful.
Keep working.
And I'm like, and what for me has been a gift is that I feel like my job in this season, through all the things that we're doing, business, personal, creative, etc., is to nudge people in that direction.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't get to like finish the job and like be the one who's like, here's the thing and here's what you do, and but I can get them a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And then God will figure it out from there.
Yeah.
So that's been, it's been really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, God takes the opportunity to put you in places to, I am sorry. God, it is super cold. Because it is cold in here. Yeah. It's like 42 degrees.
But I've been cold like all day. It's weird.
Well, you're cold-blooded. You're a snake.
I'm usually not. Ari, my youngest, is always saying that he and I are always steaming. That's what he says, because he and I are always hot. And I'm usually not cold. But today, for some reason, I woke up and I've been like cold. I was cold at the dermatologist, and now I'm like,
maybe you needed to eat a cheeseburger, man. Like, you need some iron or something.
And I had soup for lunch.
But it's amazing to see God put you in opportunities, just like what you said, to just plant seeds, right? Either plant or water a seed, right? You may not be there to see the whole tree grow, right? But it's super cool. And the moment that you shared about your friend, it's amazing that God put you there, and you're like, okay, the universe doesn't really care about you. No offense to if you're watching this for some reason. It's not the universe, it's God. But but she felt it, and you were there to help guide her through that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a privilege.
Yeah,
it's
dude,
awesome.
It is. Well, speaking of privileges, it's a privilege to get to know you as a friend.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, and like, when I first started talking with Tawan about doing a podcast or whatever, I was like, well, nobody wants to do a podcast about mortgages. Mortgages suck, right? But like we said, well, let's do something different. Let's talk about people who are, doing things, they're making a difference in communities, right? Whether they're leaders in business or leaders in faith or whatever, and you're a leader in both, right? And I see where your heart is for people, and I see the communities that you want to serve, and just being able to call you a friend is a blessing, and I appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for lunch today, and thank you for just allowing me to twist your arm and hop on here and talk about you for a little bit.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, appreciate you too, man. It's cool to see, also to see how much you care about people, because like you said, mortgages as a business can be so transactional.
Yeah,
because you're trying to get from point A to point Z, and that's it. But the in between is when you can actually care for people and make a difference. And even though there's a transaction happening, you're still wanting to go above and beyond. You're still wanting to serve, and you're still wanting to care for people.
Yeah.
And that obviously pays its dividends, and and it shows. So
thank you. I appreciate that. All right, brother. Go home to your wife.
I'm going to go home and pick up some
Facebook Marketplace journey trip that she's got you on. I don't know. I was looking at Facebook Marketplace the other day. It's so funny. It's like Tawan helps me with my social media. And it was speaking of Porsches, right? So I had, there was a 1986 Porsche 944 for sale. And it was in Fredericksburg. So I messaged the guy and I was like, is this for sale? Is this still available? And I forgot. So a couple of days later, the guy messages back. And so Tawan and I are in here, and he picks up his head. I'm over there at my desk working. Tawan's over here doing some editing or something. He picks his head up and looks at me and says, "Hey, Nick, the Porsche's still available if you want it." And it took my brain a second. I was like, what? Oh, yeah, awesome.
Oh, man.
So you got to get a Porsche.
I know. My kids are like, we're going to get a Porsche. So now they think they bought me the other day. They came home with a little Bugatti.
Oh.
And I was like,
you should start with a Porsche before you go to Bugatti.
I think I was like, even if I had the means, it's just that's a little too much.
You'd have to have the means. You'd have to be like the justification for that. Like what are they, like 4 million? Or I would not only have to be able to afford $4 million, I would have to be able to afford, I don't know, SpaceX, Elon, if you want to get me a Bugatti, right? Like you have to be able to afford so much more than that to justify a $4 million car expense.
I couldn't
do it.
I couldn't talk myself into it. Again, even if I had the means, I'd just be like, what?
You know what I would do?
You can do so much more with that.
You know what I would do with it? Like if I had it, I would not drive it, and I would not be able to afford the maintenance, and it would rot.
Yeah. A tire is like $100,000.
Right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Thanks, man.